Welcome to the September 29th edition of the EdTech Pulse. Thank you for joining me today. And today we're going to take a deep dive into Discovery Education. Now, please note that all elementary schools have a license paid for this year by Learning Services. We have paid for it in order to ensure that you have resources to support the implementation, especially of your science curriculum, because there's very few resources out there at this time. So, if you're interested in gaining access to Discovery Education and you're a 7 to 9 or a 10 to 12 school, you can either reach out to myself or your school team consultant, and they can direct you to the space in SharePoint where you can then access the resources in order to be able to do that. All of those extras, like science tech book, mystery science, any of the coding component, those all need to be reached out the school site needs to reach out to Discovery Education directly to get those added to your profile so that you can use them within your schools, and you'll need to pay the cost directly from there. So let's actually take a dive in and see how this works. So here we go. We're just in a brand new tab of the Chrome browser. Now, when you're logged in with your ECSD credentials into the Chrome browser, you will note that you have access to this ECSD bookmark bar. So if you select this, you will see down the line that you have Discovery Education. So all students, all staff have access to Discovery Education through this way. Now, please note that if you're at home and you're not logged in and you're logged in on your personal, you will need to go to Discovery Education Canada. Once you go here, then you can log in with your ECSD credentials. So that's the second way that you can access it. Now, of course, I'm in it here now. You will not automatically jump to this page. It will ask you to say what subjects you teach, what some of your interests or topics might be that you might be teaching. And why it asks that is because the AI within Discovery Education then pulls together some resources that are based on your interests that you put in. So if you didn't put in science, it's not going to pull up science resources. However, if you did, then it will pull those up. So once you're in Discovery Education and you've done all of those components, this is your home page or the dashboard. And so yours might look different than mine, and that's because you're able to edit your home layout using that button. So you can just pull and drag. Now, the My Channels and Recently Viewed usually sit at the bottom to start, but those are my resources that I find are my favorites. So I intentionally pull them up to the top because I don't want to have to scroll through all of Discovery Ed's interest picks for myself in order to be able to access what I need in the moment and right now. So I have saved some of my favorite channels here. And so a channel is a kind of a, a bigger, broader kind of gathering of information. And so it's a big topic area. So, for example, back to school, they have the ability to filter it K to 5, 6 to 8, 9 to 12. And then, of course, if you go down, there are resources. So there's some ones to support wellness in school, building community, some English language arts ones to kind of get you going. So like Grammaropolis and things like that. Now, once I'm in a channel, if it's something that I want to save as my favorite channel, you have this little bookmark right here, this little icon. So you can see I have remove from channels because I don't have it. But if you hover over top, it should say add to my channel. So once you add to my channels, then in that my channel section that I just showed you on the home page, you will have this as a quick reference point. And so as you go down here, if there's other ones that you're interested in, so for example, Grammaropolis is a really great one. If you're looking at different parts of speech, you have all kinds of videos and resources available as you scroll down. And so you can also do the same to this, add it to your channels. So anything that you want to revisit frequently, add to your channels. Now, how do I get back to that page? Well, you see the D up in the top left-hand corner here? You just need to click on that icon and it will automatically take you back to your home page or your dashboard. So these are some of my favorite channels, and feel free to also use the search bar at the top to just put them in, look for them, bookmark them if you want to have them too. They have virtual field trips built into this area. There's also science interactives. There's also a lot of different SOS strategy pages or channels that are available. So ones that have like the teacher PDFs, and we'll talk about those in a little bit. And then of course, anytime I've been in a really big platform, I know that I've clicked on a resource where I'm like, oh, this is really cool, but then I've clicked on something else and I go down this rabbit hole. So when all of a sudden you are too far down the rabbit hole and you want to revisit a resource that you were in before, all you need to do is come back to your home page by clicking that little D and go to your recently viewed. You're going to see everything that you've recently viewed, and you can just click the arrow to go through. You can also clear the history at any point in time if you'd like, but otherwise, it's just here for you, and you can access everything that you've looked at. This is where the AI starts to pull resources for you, so activities for you based on what you selected at the beginning, and also what you've been searching for. There's also timely and relevant resources available as well. So the back to school, which I showed you already, there's some news and current events as well. Another AI generated videos for you, and then educator supports. Educator supports is where actually you will also find the SOS strategies. I did click add to my channel. So these ellipses, the three dots, always click on them to see what other options are available. I added this to my channel, so it was at the top of the page. And so here you go with all of the resources on your homepage. Now, there's a couple other features that I want to show you here. And so I'm going to take you over to the right-hand side to start. You see this 0 here. Now, if I come across a resource that I like, but I don't have time to look into it, this is a really great feature because what you can do is you can click those three dots again, and you can just select Add to Quick List. When you do that, it's going to dump it in this space so that you can go back for a really quick, easy reference and take a look at the resource a little bit deeper at a time when you have more time. And so this is a really great spot for that. So let's say, for example, I'm just going to jump into the science channel. Let's say, for example, that I'm interested in this resource. I click those three dots, I add to my quick list. You'll see that it tells me that it's added it to my quick list, and you'll see a number 1 up in this space now. So I'm also going to add this one to my quick list, and oh, this exploration as well. And so as I do that, I can just click in this space, and now those resources are here. So I can do one of two things. I can look at the resource, decide if it's something that I do want to use with my students. And so when I just open it up, it's going to open up the actual resource. So this is an example of an exploration. And so this is an interactive activity that students can engage in, and they would simply just hit continue. Now, one of the cool features, just as a side note, is if you come across this and you want to put it in a material list in your Google Classroom or your Microsoft Team, it's really easy to do. You can come over to this menu right here on the right-hand side, select Share. You have access to both your Microsoft Team and your Google Classroom. When you open either, it's automatically going to coincide and work together with that so that you can choose your class. You do not need to leave this platform in order to build an assignment or create a material, make an announcement, or ask a question. And so you can see it's building it all in this space. I can give further instructions, I can add additional links, etc. So you can see that that is here. And so that's the really quick kind of share feature, which works amazing with our Google Classrooms and Microsoft Teams. And so now let's say, for example, I want to keep this resource. Now I have two options. I can save it to my content in my Discovery Ed so I can revisit it later so that it's more in a hard space. Or let's say, for example, I want both of these resources. There are all 10 resources that I listed. I can select the ellipses right here, the three dots, your Timbits, and I can say add to my content. So everything in my quick list, this is the real quick, easy way, everything in the quick list that I've now left there and I haven't removed, I want to put into, let's say, for example, a grade 1 folder. If I don't have a folder here, then I might add a new folder. So I'm just going to say test folder just for fun for right now. Click the check mark. And now in my test folder, I can click on it and add. Those resources will now be in a more permanent space, and I'll show you where those are in a moment. Now I can also, because I put them in a permanent space, I'm going to remove them from my quick list so that they don't impede, and then I can search my new topic. So this is our quick list feature, so really handy tool. I'm going to take us back to our home page, and I just want to take you to this pancake or the three lines that are over on the left-hand side. This is our open global navigation. And so if I select this, I have a variety of different options. I have the ability to create a classroom. So this is different than the classroom that is in your your Google Space or your Microsoft Space in regards to the only time that I would really use these is if I was assigning something that I wanted the students to work in and it became part of the profile that I could maybe assess later. And so this is really simple. You can just create your class. I'm just going to create a test, hit save. You don't have to put a description if you want. You can change your theme. You can also then easily add your students. You can download your class roster with the CSV file, or you can go into your school roster here. All students have been pulled to the platform for your school. Now, when you do this, you will see all of your students. I don't have students because there's none here at Learning Services. But to make it easier, hit the filter grade, put in your grade number, and select the magnifying glass, the search engine. And then what it's going to do is it's going to pull all of the students that are registered in grade 5 at your school site. On the far right-hand side, you're going to have to scan that list, and you're going to then have to click on the right-hand side, add to class, add to class, add to class. This will literally take you 30 seconds. So set up your class, boom, it's easy to assign, and that's something that I can support you with later. I'm not going to really get into that space today. So that's how we can set up a classroom really easily. We can also see our assignments from this space. So anything that we have assigned to students will show up here. Will also show up this, with the start date, the due date, complete, and the results if it's something that the platform could actually assess. And then I'm just going to jump back into our Pancake, into our global navigation, and I'm going to jump into Explore. Actually, before I jump into Explore, there are some other tools that are available in here. I did show you the My Content folder earlier, and so this is where that permanent space. So remember, I created the test folder. This is where you can set up folders to match your subject areas, your content areas. You can build folders within folders, kind of like Google Drive and OneDrive, so you can access it that way. So My Content is your own personal space where you've stored resources that you might want to revisit next year if you're teaching grade 5 again, whatever it might be, some of your favorites. School content is a really great space for collaboration. So if you have a grade partner, you could set up a grade 5 science class or folder, and you could collaborate and share resources in this space together so that it's two heads instead of one doing the work. The last one is the division content. And so in the division content, these were some of the consultant curated resources. And so you can see that many of these are old, so ignore those. If you scroll down to Science Elementary, though, I just want to show you, this has been updated, this space, because this is why we paid for the licenses, was so that we provided resources. So last year, some of your learning services consultants built these new resource boards to support the new implementation of the science curriculum grades 1, 2, 3. And so when you come into grade 3, for example, you can choose Earth Systems. You can then see that there's a September science pacing guide, October, November, December. So they match the subject area pacing guides that are also out there. So if I click into September, you will see that there is a board that is created here. Within this board, you're going to have your organizing idea, your learning outcome, your understanding, and then you're going to have your cusps. So the cool piece to this is you can just click on one of the cusps, and it is going to, we have curated content for you to help support that knowledge, that skill, that procedure, to help students develop their understanding for that learning outcome. And so within this, you can see that there is text in here. There's also these things called spotlights on strategies, which are kind of like a learning processing strategy that you can use with students. So very similar to visible thinking routines, if you've ever used those before. So if you've ever done like a KWL chart, it's kind of the same way. What do you know? What do you think you know? What did you learn? What do you want? What do you wonder? What do you want to know further? So same kind of idea, except that these strategies, there's lots of them in here, and I will show those to you in a few minutes. There's also videos with resources. There's also assessments that have already been built by Discovery Education that you can assign to students. These are the ones that you would assign in the classroom here for students. You could share a video, you could share a picture, you could share an interactive to your Google Classroom just to create a materials list for them. But if you want the students to actually like do an activity like this, then you would assign it to them. So the assigning is where it is going to put you into that space of Discovery Education's set like classroom assignment. And so you would fill out the information and continue hitting next, and then it would send it to the assignments that were back in that classroom section. If it is just a resource like this, you can click in it. You can make it bigger. You can, so I just hit pause on that. You could also look at that resource, find it, and then add it to your materials list as well. And so as you scroll down, there will be a home button that will return you back to that home page where you can then click the next knowledge or skill or procedure. But before we leave this page, something I want to show you that's really cool is that they have Immersive Reader built into here as your accessibility tool. So all that text that was on the page, it will put it into Immersive Reader, which looks like this. You can hit where it will play the text for you. You also have the ability to change the size of the font. You have the ability to increase spacing, reduce spacing. You have some grammar options where you can look at nouns and actually blend in a little bit of grammar in there as well. And then, of course, you have this reading preferences. And so this is where you can have it line focus. You can also do the picture dictionary. So if I click on a word, it will show me a picture of it. It will also say it out loud. You can also translate this. So you can translate, you saw the singular word turn to Ukrainian. I'm going to leave this as Ukrainian and I'm going to switch it to document. Now, every word that was on that page in Discovery Education is now in Ukrainian. And this is the cool part. Listen, you'll notice that it reads it back with the proper intonation and the proper accent for that specific language. Not all languages have access to the read back. So, for example, Tigrinya has been added to the space, but they do not have the read back feature for that one. But most languages do. So feel free to check that out. Also with these resource boards, over on the left-hand side, you're going to see a teacher notes. This is going to have the full video for teachers. So this video is the one that's going to teach you as the educator how to use the strategy with your students. The other cool thing is there is a PDF activity here as well. And what this is kind of like a lesson plan. It has the big idea of this particular learning strategy, as well as the steps to use it with your students. There's also an extension and modification side to this as well. You can print it. You can also download it. So these strategies are also something that you can use outside of Discovery Education with any other content. So whether you have a reading passage for students from a book, whatever it might be. So these are here to help support you. And then, of course, this is the resources to help support the teaching and learning within your classroom. So these are our Discovery Education boards. Now, note too, you can actually make a copy of it, and that copy of it will put it in Studio, which I'll show you in a moment, and then you can customize it. So you can take information out, you can take videos out that you don't want to use, and you can make it your own and then use that with students. So this is here for you to do whatever you would like to do with it. So I'm just going to take us back to that home page. And you're going to see over here that now I'm going to come back into this pancake. And the next piece is I talked about Studio. This is another tool that's in here where it allows you to manipulate those boards. So if you were to make a copy, you would actually be able to edit it. Here's a variety of different boards that I do have in my section. And so I'm just going to, here's one that's specific for grade 3. So this was a copy of. So something that you could take and manipulate. So as I said before, when you see this Studio, you're now in the edit zone of this. So this is a space where you as an educator can build resources, modify pre-existing ones, and all of those. So you would simply just go in here, change the title. You could change the information in here. Scroll through, it's a set of slides. So once upon a time, there was just Board Builder. Now you have the ability to use boards, but you also have the ability to use the slides as well. So what do these 3 images have in common? Great, you can generate a discussion within your classroom or work with Turn and Talk at your groups, whatever it might be. And so again, you can customize these. I can even click in here and I can change the image. So I can replace it. I can use any resources from Discovery Ed. I can also use resources that are not from Discovery Ed. So very kind of cool features. But as soon as you see these things on the side, this means that you are in edit zone. So this is where you can add resources. This is where you can customize it with background colors, theme colors. So that's the green that's back here. And this is where you can add teacher notes. Now, for anything that's out there, it does give you any of the templates, which I'll show you in a second. They do give you teacher notes to show you how to use them. So if I was to build something from scratch in Studio, I'm just going to come back to the space. All I need to do is hit Create New, and you have the ability to use a pre-existing template, create a board from scratch, or create a slideshow. These activity templates match all of the SOS strategies. And so I keep talking about these strategies, but I'm just going to show you the Get Benny with it. It's really this easy. You can build this activity. You can change your title. You can add content. You can, then the students would, then you would assign it to the students, and they would be able to then upload a picture of their Venn diagram that they've made, so they could take a picture with their Chromebooks and then upload it. This gives you the directions on how to use this. It also gives you that PDF activity that we talked about earlier. And the blue or the pink or the green, any of those videos, those are the ones that are specific for students. Those ones are all like embedded on those science board pages for you to use with students, just so that you know, because I don't think I mentioned that. And then, of course, that's kind of Studio. So this is a huge area. And if you require any support at any point in time, please don't hesitate to reach out to your school team consultant. I'm just going to come back to this home space one more time. There's also the ability to use the quiz section, which is kind of like Edpuzzle, if any of you have ever used it. It's literally where you take a video, you add it in here, and then you play it. You want to stop it, and you add a question, and then you can assign this to students. So you can do a short answer, you can do a poll, which is not assessed, you can do a multiple choice one where you can set the grading for it. And so this is the space where you can do these. You can then add them to your boards. There's so much that you can do. And then you can launch it. You can launch it live in the class, or you can have it launched as an assignment that ends up in the student's assignment board. So I'm just going to jump out of this. So those are kind of the main features. Now, how do I use this platform to search? Well, I showed you where the science boards were. So again, those were over here in the My Content, in the division content space. So I showed you where you would access those. The other thing that we can do is we can use the Explore. Explore is a very kind of generic area. It's based on your interest that you pulled. There are ready-to-use activities, quizzes, best of interactives. You can browse by subject. And again, that AI pulled things for you in this space. That's one. I don't use it very often, but it's there. The next thing you can do is you can use the search bar and you can type in a keyword. So whatever that keyword might be, you might want to try different keywords too, make them really specific, make them a little more general. Once you do that, you're going to get all kinds of resources. You can see here, you get videos, interactives, there might be lessons. Anything that's grayed out, they don't have for this specific set of keywords that I chose. However, I can filter for just interactive. So I showed you the explorations, which are interactives for the students for learning. You can also see the activities are like the assessments that you can assign to them and make a copy and customize for yourself. I can also just keep it as all. I can filter for subject area, for grade level. I can even do 2 grade levels together, just so that I can kind of like meet all the needs in my classroom. Also, you can filter a little bit further. I don't use these very often, but they are there. So you can kind of play with them, check them out. Sometimes there's even reading level ones and Lexile scores just to change up the simplicity of the actual content that's in there for reading passages. So that is one way is to use the search. And then, of course, the last one is the best one. And I hope you stayed on till the end. And I know this is long, but this is your browse by standards. And so this is actually where you get to go into the new program of study. So I'm going to go into this one from last year. I'm going to choose English Language Arts. I'm going to choose grade 5. And I'm going to go text, forms, and structure. So my organizing idea, my guiding question, my learner outcome. And then I'm going to have my understandings and cusps. Anything that is in blue is linked. Anything that is not, they don't have anything for that yet. So I'm going to click into here. Again, it's going to show me the resources that they have curated. Now, they're not 100%, but at least it's a starting point. From here, let's say, for example, I like this one. I'm going to throw it to my add to list. Oh, I want this one too. It's going to go in my quick list. Now, earlier I had something covering this space. This is your quick list right here. Now I can come back, watch them, see if they're appropriate, and then add them all to my content folder that I have built for this. And so that's what I would do with this is I would jump into the space, see what actually like suits what you're doing in your classroom to meet the needs of your group and go forward from there. So when we are in that browse by standard space, you do have access to the new science, the new English language arts, phys ed and wellness and mathematics, as well as all of the legacy ones. And it's not just K to 6 that are in here, it's K to 12. So you can go back, even your legacy social studies is right here, your legacy science is also here. And so this is Discovery Education in a nutshell. So if there is anything or any support that you might require with this, want a staff workshop, please don't hesitate to reach out to your emerging technology consultant, either myself, Devin, or Joel, whoever is your school team consultant, and we can definitely dive in with you, plan with this, as well as show you how to use it and help you maximize content engagement for your students. Thank you for joining us today on the EdTech Pulse, and we will see you soon. Bye now.